Chapter 5, the Advanced BIA. I'm not going to explain the entire chapter here and how this works because frankly, you need so much space to do it. The video is going to be too long, it's going to be too arduous. I'm going to instead go through the idea of how you would approach this. If you're going to do this sort of like next step, which I consider extremely optional, should only be done after you've gone through the regular process multiple times. This is a huge hog of resources. It balloons your BIA section of the whole program. It is a huge resource hog, okay? If you're going to do that, you should really know what you're doing and be used to this sort of thing. Otherwise, it takes too long to get to doing solutions. You're far better off doing multiple different business continuity processes in different parts of your organization. But let's say you're doing this, you have the resources, fine. If you're going to do this, you're throwing so many resources at this thing. If you haven't bought the book already, what are you doing? Yes, okay. Frankly, you should be calling me. Or sending us an email or doing something, getting professionals involved if you're going to be doing something of this size, hiring someone in-house. The Advanced BIA is a lot, but we're here. So anyways, okay, Advanced BIA, general idea. You've got your function process applications. So you've got your function, you've got your process, you've got your application. You've got your 2 P's in application. You got your application. Okay, function, process, application. When you're doing the Advanced BIA, you're doing more than one of these. So with the standard BIA and your normal scope for a regular one, you're doing at one of these levels. If you had, for example, your functions of sales, admin, ops, and then we'll do like 4 for now for the sake of just demonstration. So let's say you had 4 functions, right? If you were doing it just at the function level, you would just be doing these 4. If you're doing it at the process level, you might be doing a whole BIA on just sales. So you might be doing it just on sales. These other 3 might not exist. And then within sales, you might have, your opening process, your general sales process. For something internal, you might have the storefront, you might have the close, you might have a sub process for upselling, which might be within closing, you might have client retention or customer service. You have a whole bunch of different processes. So if you were doing this on sales, then you might be looking at this piece where, I'm not doing it on business and its functions, I'm doing it on sales and its processes. Within these processes, you might also have sub-applications. So customer service might have things within it that it does. So you might have call center, which is a sub-process within. You might have a particular type of computer program that they do stuff within. So incident ticket system. You might have, some follow-up thing that customer service uses to operate. Time carding, employee management, something. So something on employee management. Whatever. So you'll have some sub-applications. When you do a multi-level, you're doing multiple things. So if I'm not doing application, if I'm just doing function and process, I'm doing all of this and all of the stuff that's in there. You're going to have impact assessment, RTO, RPO, criticality, dependency map, resources for the function at the function level. So you have a map, right? You have a map with all the things and all the arrows and the da-da-da-da-da for the function level. You're also going to have a map for the sales process. So you'll have a sales map. So while sales might be here, so we had 4 actually, so let's just get rid of that. So while you'll have a map with arrows and whatever and blah, blah, blah and stuff for all these things for, your sales and your IT and your ops and your Okay, you'll have that. You're also going to have the sales map, and that's going to have the sales processes within it and how they all interrelate. Okay, you're also going to have the IT map and all of its processes and how they interrelate. You're also going to have the ops map with all of its processes. And ops might have quite a few because you might have assembly lines or whatever. So ops might have a whole bunch of stuff going around. I can almost guarantee you the ops process map is going to be massive. And then you're obviously also going to still have the admin map. And it's going to have all of its boxes and stuff that's going together and blah, blah, blah. Okay? And then you're going to have the way that these maps connect to each other. Because something in this can shut down that. And potentially, there's a process in here that can shut down an entire function. So now you have, if ops goes down, it could shut down specifically that thing in admin, not admin overall. So you're having this level of detail where you were in a 2D plane where you're working with one thing, but now you have 5 separate 2D planes that are all interacting. You now have a 3D plane. Now you add an application. So now you have a process map for this box, or a dependency map for this box that's showing all of the things that make up that box. So this box now is actually not this box, because this ops box here is actually this section. But it's also the whole section, because there's something from inside ops that could shut down all of ops. Because you're not just looking at things that shut down ops within ops, you're looking at things that shut down the entirety of ops from ops. You're also looking at the things that shut down the entire of IT from ops. Let's go into application. This is not a box. This is actually a set of sub-applications that also interrelate, just like this stuff does. So now you could have one application that is fundamentally necessary, let's say email, that admin requires to do its job. You lose email, and now there is a dependency from an application to a function. That is a 2D plane inside of a 2D plane inside of a 2D plane that can interact with any other 2D plane at any other level. You have a 4-dimensional diagram where any node can interface with any node. You could also have a 3-dimensional diagram, but it gets huge because you have to unpack everything. You could also have a 2-dimensional diagram, but you have to unpack. So think about it this way. These are all pieces of paper. I have my piece of paper for all of my parts of sales, right? They're all flat. I could fold them into a cube and have my sales cube. So I could have my sales cube and my ops cube and my admin cube and my IT cube, and I could have all these cubes. But then I have to fold these cubes together and have a cube of cubes. That is my function level diagram. If you do 3 levels at the same time, you have created a 4D model that you have to unpack. And these arrows can go from application to application, from application to process, from application to function, from process to function, from process. They can go in anywhere to anywhere. All of these things interrelate to each other. And once you start doing this, you kind of got to do the analysis of the whole thing. Because if you don't put an arrow somewhere, the lack of an arrow implies there isn't a dependency, not that you haven't found it yet. So it can lure you into a false sense of security, assuming you aren't dependent on the thing. This is a nightmare. You can do this. I have done these. They're very doable when you know what you're doing. But you have to allocate a significant amount of resources to be able to approach this problem. This also is just the dependency piece. I haven't even started talking about integrating function and process separate criticalities. Because there is something that can be critical to sales within the sales process that does not meet the criticality of a function. You can have something that is criticality 1, like you could say ops is criticality 1, and you could have something that is criticality 1 to sales. So sales says it's highest priority, but the sales function might just be criticality 2. Why do I care about this? Because within the sales budget, they may focus on the criticality 1 thing, but sales might not get any budget because you don't care about it because it's not criticality 1. So I'm able to look through all of the budgets of the entire business and precision target exactly where everything went and why things matter, which is great, but you can already appreciate probably, if you're looking at this for the first time, how this becomes a bit of an analysis nightmare. Now, if you're someone who runs a multinational and you want to be able to exercise due diligence and you want to know exactly what's going on in your organization, you probably see this as a tool and go, okay, we're going to have some fun. If that's the case, you're probably going to allocate some resources to this. You're probably going to spend some time doing this, and you can see the value of a process like this. You can make a model where you can navigate through it. You can make actually a model in sort of like a VR program, and actually you can walk through your business model and like see how stuff operates. You can do some really cool stuff with this, but you need to put the resources towards it. Being able to precision target things and know exactly why certain decisions is made are great, but you have to get there. I talked about criticalities. What about the RTOs? It's one thing if you look at how long it takes something to shut down through a basic pathway. It's another thing when you have separate RTOs at separate tiers. All of this still works. All of this stuff integrates, but you're talking about layers on layers on layers of complexity where everything interrelates in every direction. Okay? There's a lot. When you have impacts to a function, the impact to the function is usually a product of the various impacts that are seen within said function. Sometimes, and this has happened, you will have an impact to a sub-process of a function that is greater than the total function loss impact. When that happens, you know that someone's lying. So if you lose this here, that would imply that this is also lost, so this should be getting lost. The impact number should be increasing. So if this creates a bigger impact than this, someone's lying somewhere in the analysis, or something funny's going on. There's all sorts of interesting conclusions you can get when doing this, but once again, huge resource hog. Okay, let's just walk through this for a second, assuming every one of these processes has 3 applications. 3. Okay? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 3, 6, 9, 42, 45, 48, 51, 54 application dependency maps, plus the 4 process level maps. That's not 54, that's 58, plus the function map. That is 59 dependency maps that all have separate nodes, because remember, the application map has nodes within it. That's not 59 nodes, that's 59 maps that are all cross-integrating, all have their own RTOs, all have their own criticalities, all have their own independent impact analyses. You're talking about an incredible amount of data, which if you know how to sift through is very, very useful. But if I haven't stressed this enough yet, if you are actually seriously considering attempting Chapter 5, please just contact us, because do not attempt this without doing this sort of thing before on your own. You will save so much money by just bringing an expert in and time. It's arduous. But if you're into this sort of thing and you really want the value out of it, it is incredibly valuable, but you got to know how to wield it and how to use it. If you're interested in Bob level stuff on the Bob content, The reality is we only did function level for Bob, and I really do not have an interest in showing a 4-dimensional map for Bob's brain, although I'm sure it would be very riveting and entertaining. Hopefully you can appreciate I'm not this invested in exploring the story of Bob, but I'm very interested in hearing your feedback or your Bob maps, because I'm sure you could have lots of fun making up your own stories for how all this stuff integrates with Bob. And if one of you wants to make the 4D Bob model, have at her.